Hello, and welcome to a special edition of 5 Minutes with Mike. This episode is going to be long. It's a long episode, but I think that honestly that this is basically going to be a smoking gun type of situation in regards to the exploitation and tactics that's been used by some Utah direct sales based companies. Now, I can't speak for all Utah based companies because I didn't work for all Utah based companies. But I can say this, that there's definitely a culture there that comes out of that area that is not friendly to individuals, no matter what state that you're in, when it comes down to it. So as a disclaimer, at the end of the day, a lot of what I am saying is based upon my own experiences and also said experiences from having conversations with other sales reps based upon the cultures that exist within these companies. So getting right into the episode, Utah direct sales companies use exploitative tactics to skirt labor and tax laws by miscategorizing employees as contractors. All right. Here we go. This is deep, guys. This is very, very deep. So, finally, I'm just taking opportunity to address an issue with the gross negligence and deception that takes place with these Utah-based direct sales companies. Companies for which I worked for within the past 7 years and personally been in the doors and have been treated unfairly. And I'm going to name every last one of them, at least the ones I worked for. Or even not just the ones I work for, but the ones I know about that and I have heard that have treated their quote unquote independent contractors unfairly. Now, as I said earlier, of course, I didn't work for every single Utah-based company, but when you start to realize that they pretty much are all the same. They sleep in the same beds with each other and find ways to screw over. Let me rewind that. They sleep in the same beds with each other and find ways to screw over their independent contractor. Employees. Okay. Of course, this is not unique to Utah-based companies because companies have found a way to capitalize and screw employees since the time of slavery. But of course, we all knew that wasn't voluntary. But what matters most in this story is the fact that these companies, which are all centrally located in Utah, are in a direct sales business, with branches all throughout the United States. So they have offices all throughout the U.S. for the most part. And as I stated, this is a special edition of 5 Minutes with Mike because, of course, 5 minutes doesn't do justice for over 4 to 5 years or 7 years for which I have been doing research, battling bad managers like the newest manager at Fluent Houston, Texas, Matt effing Fowler, who thinks he's quite a guy with power, but he's really powerless. But anyway, in this episode, I'm going to call out all of the Utah direct sales companies who have alleged questionable business practices. Safe Home Security Services, Fluent Home Security and Solar Company, Lumio Solar Company, Alder Security, Vivint Security Services, who was recently purchased by NRG and has had a massive amount of complaints from, state attorney generals and things of that nature. Guys, remember, these are all Utah-based companies. They all sleep in the same bed together, draft the same rules that unfortunately are dictators by nature. And they basically draw upon indentured servanthood like any and every other type of ideology when it comes down to it. But it's bad for minorities and disenfranchised communities. Very bad. And because of the fact that this is an opinion piece, I have to add the term alleged, okay? Allegedly. But in all honesty, in my opinion, in my own personal experience, these are facts, okay? So the only thing that is really alleged is how easily these companies have been skirting the laws to F over hundreds, if not thousands of people, all in the name of profit.
This is 5 Minutes with Mike, our news, our voice, and our opinion. With your host, Michael Beckford. Now stop, listen, and pay attention for 5 Minutes with Mike.
For far too long, we have seen companies make billions of dollars off of black people, minorities, and poor white young kids. They misclassify them as independent contractors while treating them as employees of the company without the benefits under the law when it comes down to employee responsibilities. Take, for example, company says, hey, I'll give you housing and opportunity to stay at XYZ location for an XYZ period of time. And as long as you work for me, you have housing, you'll be taken care of. Here's why, guys, that this is a setup for failure. Number one, it goes back to the history of being an indentured servant. They know that they have your roof over your head, which is the most important thing you can have for a person or any existing mammal, is to have a nice, safe place to stay. And so they use that as leverage to make your ass get out there working for them for as long as they need you to work for them to help their bottom line. Now, they can control your time, your schedule, and particular meeting places, all because of the fact that, number one, they're controlling your most valuable asset, which is your time, and is also controlling your place of residence. This is happening all over America right as we speak, and it should be treated on the same level as a domestic sex worker. Yep, I said it. The pimps are the corporations, and the employees and or AKA independent contractors are its hoes. When the sales are good, the manager feels great. He lightens up a little bit. When the sales are bad, the manager starts to tighten up his grip, just like a dictator, looking at only his or her bottom line, but claims that he wants to do everything for the team, for which he himself and the boss that is above him are the only ones that actually get any equity out of the TEAM team. Yet, he or she who are in these management roles with these direct sales companies understand that they are just as dispensable as you and I. But because of the fact that they went through some of the trenches and understand that they don't want to have to go back to working hard, knocking on doors for 8 to 10 hours, so they don't want to go back to that life. No. So they put they put as much pounds of pressure as they legally feel they possibly can to get your ass out there to work for them for free, essentially. And the basic thing is they do that because they are rather use that in expenditures to pressure you in any form of fashion than to lose their little cushy job and or title or position. Now, this episode of 5 Minutes Mike is sponsored by the Urban Classics Collection. Download 12 ebooks plus 3 audiobooks, all for less than the price of a hardback book. With best-selling titles such as Dying to Be Straight and thought-provoking books such as Speak Up Poetry, which I'm doing right now, and Dirty Negroes, this collection of urban books and audiobooks is great for those that are lovers of African American literature. All 12 ebooks in Urban Classics Collection is written by me, Michael D. Beckford. Link is in the description below. Now, with the limited time 50% off discount promo code 2023 books, that's 2023 books for 50% off the Urban Classics Collection. Link is in the description below. And back to our episode, guys. Utah direct sale companies use exploitative tactics to skirt labor and tax laws by miscategorizing employees as contractors. Now to my first segment. I have the receipts. Yes, good God, I got the receipts. I got the text messages between these particular individuals that are tyrants, that are being, I got the receipts, okay? Matt Fowler, who is the newest manager of the Houston, Texas Fluent Solar office, whom I classify as a tyrant and an idiot and someone that that think he has some sort of power, especially over me. Really? Really, Matt? Even the federal government doesn't have that type of power that God has. And his power is supreme. Now, with that being stated, of course, I respect the laws of the land. And Jesus said to give unto Caesar what's Caesar, to give unto God what's God. And simply put, basically, you follow what's the laws of the land, but God's laws trump any other laws that prevails that man can ever write or imagine. And those laws even trump the federal government, any privately held or publicly held corporation. So, Matt Fowler, you can come at me with your BS crap that you'll never be in charge of me, especially since I am classified by the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, as an independent contractor, self-employed individual. That's how I file my taxes, and that's how I choose to live my life. So when your dumbass decides to think that you're going to fire me when I already was literally telling other people that I was putting in my walking papers, once again, 2 weeks prior to this conversation with you this week, I don't think that, you really have a point in the matter to think that you had any real power over me, even in any context of the matter. So, like I said, at the end of the day, I put in my walking papers, and that was pretty much that's that. And the other thing is, so this dude wanted me to, put in my schedule for the week that I'm going to work, do this and do that, make a phone call, or I'm going to be, terminated. Whoo, shaking in my boots. Can't believe it. I'm over it. I'm going to be terminated. Oh, what am I going to do? And so, you know what I decided to do? I decided to, create this YouTube video. I was already, had already thought about doing this at least a month ago, because I really gotten fed up with the way that, these Utah-based companies have gotten over essentially on individuals like myself. And so I said, well, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to meet him in the middle in this thing. I'm going to create this schedule that I'm not going to do because I'm done with them, right? But I'm going to put this schedule just to appease him. I'm going to give him a call. I'm even going to get on one of his little Zoom call meetings to buy myself some time so I can get an opportunity to then send this video out to those employees or independent contractors that currently work for him, to at least give them some ideology that they don't have to abide by some of these things for which he and this company is trying to pressure campaign them on. So I'm going to take a little bit of an L to save face, to maybe hope and save, who knows, hundreds of people from companies like this, or even those that are working for this particular company. Say, hey, they may say, Michael, he's just mad and upset, or Michael, he just, whatever, he's gone AWOL, whatever. They can make up anything. The manager's going to say, hey, ignore him. Don't worry about what he said. That's not true. That's not true. You better be in this meeting, whatever the case may be. Believe what you want to believe. But I tell you, those of you that are still working for Fluent and companies like this, do your effing research. Look up what it means to be an independent contractor. Go to the local IRS office and look at what it says. Then you'll understand how crazy or not, quote unquote, crazy Michael really is. Or maybe you're the one because are blinded by that little $20 an hour carrot that he gives you and say, hey, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good over here. I'm good. Okay. You be good till they decide to terminate your what. Seriously. Now, like I said, I'm on your side at the end of the day. You who are employees of these particular companies. And I use the word employee because that's basically what they're treating you as, even though you're supposed to be classified as an independent contractor. If you feel you're good, be good. Hey, there were slaves back in the day that felt good. Master fed them every day. Master gave them, warm clothes, did this. Hey, they felt that was good. And whatever. At the end of the day, you can do you. This is a nation that we have individuals that have options and choices. I'm just letting you know that the choices and or the things in which these particular individuals like Matt Fowler tries to give you is wrong. And so here's how it's wrong. Brings me to my next segment. Young workers without proper knowledge are victim to these Utah-style companies. I can't say it enough. These Utah-based companies prey on those that are weak and weak-minded. They don't want a guy like Michael Beckford that has an episode like 5 Minutes with Mike, that has a podcast, that has any kind of following, any kind of reach. They don't want a guy like that that's going to speak the truth. No, they want somebody that's off the street that don't know any better. Preferably a young black minority kid that grew up in a single family home. That's what they want. They specifically seek out individuals that may have just been on some sort of drug binge or may have some kind of damages to their record. Yep, they do. They recruit high school students, kids that don't know any better, kids that just think making $500 a week while working 80 hours is good money. These are the people that they're looking for. Now, of course, not everyone is going to have a record. I don't have a record. I don't have a criminal record. I've never been on a drug bench. I did not start these particular jobs with these companies, these Utah companies, straight out of high school, or at least working for these companies right out. But if you know, like I know, and it's been around the people I've been around, you would notice a trend in who they prefer to hire. Someone that has no real family connection, someone they can easily take advantage of, someone that they can control. Does that not sound like a pimp to you? I'll wait. Now, on to my next segment. Companies can face stiff penalties from the IRS when it comes down to the misclassification of employees. All right? Yes, this is true. The misclassification of employees versus independent contractor is a federal crime and against U.S. tax code. Okay? I repeat, the misclassification, you putting down that, oh no, this person is an independent contractor, but you're really treating them like an employee. It is against the law, guys. That's federal. I don't care what state that you live in. State law does not trump federal, okay? Especially when it comes down to federal government wanting its money and wanting it right. These Utah type companies are getting away with millions of dollars in tax savings by misclassifying employees as independent contractors. How are they getting away with millions of dollars in doing so? Well, they're not paying employee taxes. That's one. They're not putting in their share when it comes down to Medicare and Medicaid. That's two. They're getting away with not having to pay you for sick leave. That's three. They're getting away with not having to offer you health insurance. That's four. Millions and millions of dollars is saved by simply putting in a box that you're an independent contractor. Now, listen, guys, I have no problem with being an independent contractor for a company. I have no problem with that. That's that. And when I say that, I've done Uber before. I've had relationships with another alarm companies before, but I was truly a true independent spirit. I worked when I wanted to work. I clocked in where I wanted to clock in. I left when I wanted to leave, and they paid me based upon my work. There was no matter of trying to control my schedule. There was no matter of telling me where to go, when to do it, how to do it, when to go use the bathroom, all that stuff. Okay. So yes, I do respect companies that are truly apply the law in which it's supposed to be applied in. Okay. There's a guy out in Jacksonville I met. I have a good relationship with him. His name is Glenn. I'm not going to mention the name of his company to protect him and his company because I don't want any backlash for him. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be any backlash because honestly, he's one of the best individuals that I worked for, and he owns a security company, and you are truly an independent contractor for him. You don't care what time you go to work. You don't care what day you go to work. Just when you work. Sell. I'll pay you. I got you. That's it. And that's simply what it should. That's simply what it's designed to be. But you have companies, whether they want to pay you, they say they'll pay you by the hour, or whether they pay you just commission only. They want to control your time, control your schedule. And that's what this is all about. Breaking the chains of that leverage that they tried to pull the wool over you. That's what it's all about. I know this is a long ass episode. So here's what you need to do if you work for a Utah style direct sales company. No matter what state that you're in, the rules are still the rules because, as I stated earlier, it's federal law. And it doesn't matter what state the business that you work for originates in. Either way, the rules are the rules because it's federal tax law. So if you yourself have been misclassified or you think that you've been misclassified because you're being bullied to work certain times or schedules, as would be deemed for a number of normal employees because they're controlling your time and hours and place of work, then you can either go on irs.gov website in their search bar, type in misclassification employee. And then an article would come up and show you a little bit about the contrast between an independent contractor and a self-employed person or employee. You can look at those specific definitions of how that applies to you, but for the purpose and context of making sure you're not overtaxed and overburdened while the greedy corporation doesn't give a damn about you, you can go ahead and file a Form 8919. That's what it's called, a Form 8919. That form 8919 is a form that I plan on filling out this year in my taxes. So if your boss says that you're an independent contractor one day and then the next day he says, "Oh, I need you to clock in at 4 to 8 every day, or this for this time frame, or you'll be fired. I need you to work at this particular location," then guy, you're not an independent contractor. You're an employee. I know I'm beating this down the bush. I know I'm beating this dead horse down, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. So if you think about services like DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, one of the big reasons why they're able to, I believe, at least gotten in their own troubles, they did. But one of the biggest reasons why they're able to classify contractors as independent contractors is because of the fact that they do not control the time and or behaviors, i.e. of that particular individual worker. They don't. When a person decides to work, that's when they go to work. When a person decides to clock out, they're, "Hey man, I'm tired. I don't want to do no more Uber." Well, you go home. Do what you got to do. It is what it is. Nobody's calling you the next day, say, "Hey man, why aren't you on a Zoom call? Because we got to go over these Uber numbers." Or whatever the case may be. You're an independent contractor. It's not that. Now, of course, being an independent contractor doesn't make you some sort of rogue agent. It doesn't mean, especially if you're working with, obviously you're working under a company, but and that company has its policies and guidelines. Like, they want to be a safe driver. You have, driver's license, all these things to continue to be an independent contractor for Uber. But as far as saying, "Hey, yeah, man, we got this extra training going on here, and Tuesdays I need you to come into the office in Texas and blah, blah." No. So here's one thing I got to speak to you guys, you young people. If you're young and afraid that the boss is going to fire you because he threatened to either take your housing away from you, or he or she threatened to take your job away from you that you're getting commission only for, okay, which is laughable. Or even if you get paid by the hour for the hours that you clock in, and that's not matter if your status with the company and the contract that you signed is a kind of contractor, then it's just supposed to be that independent contractor. So for young people, how does the IRS define an independent contractor? According to IRS code, an independent contractor is also considered to be self-employed. That's a big word. Self-employed, which means that you employ yourself for the work that you do for someone else. And the general rule of being an independent contractor is the fact that the payer, i.e. whichever Utah-based company or whatever company that you work for, has the right to control or directly only the results of the work and not what will be done and how it will be done. And then you are not an independent contractor. If you perform services that can be controlled by employer, which means what will be done and how it will be done, this applies even if you're given freedom of action, i.e. you're out there knocking on doors, sweating, whatever, doing your thing. A boss is not directly over you per se, but you're still being held liable to a particular amount of time that takes your time away from you and what you would have normally been able to do if you was not under the control of this particular boss. Here's the last part of what I have to say about the IRS. What the IRS says about this in regards to an independent employer versus employee relationship exists, what the relationship is called. So this is how these little phony contractors, these Utah-based companies, they hand out allegedly and give you this, contract on the side to get on over you. But at the end of the day, they're just taking advantage. But according to the IRS website, irs.gov, if an employer-employee relationship exists, regardless of what the classification is, you are not an independent contractor and your earnings are generally not subject to self-employment tax. However, your earnings as an employee may be subject to FICA, which is the Social Security tax, and Medicare and income tax withholding, which is a difference in how you file your taxes are filed and how you file your taxes. Now on to my next segment. What can be done in the future about these billion-dollar companies that exploit and dictate employees for profit? I believe that the biggest thing that can be done to rein in these Utah-based companies and any other type of company that does direct sales or whatever that has a similar type of prejudice in terms of how they want to decide your work schedule to be and the behaviors that exist. I believe the biggest thing that can be done is that the federal government needs to enact more scrutiny when it comes down to the classification of employee versus non-employee, i.e. independent contractors. For far too long, average, everyday, hardworking individuals that go out and knock doors, talk to people, are being shafted by these big-time corporations. And not only do these corporations based out of Utah try to shuck and jive when it comes down to your pay, which is another headache in itself, but also my experience, there's at times, and I'm not going to name the specific companies, but there were 2 times that specific companies once, tried to basically, out of Utah, get me to basically, be transformed to Mormonism, essentially. If anybody ever been to Utah, then you would know that Utah is a heavy, heavy Mormon state. The culture is very cemented in Mormon ideology and John Smith, all the John Smith stuff. But I, as a devoted Christian, I respect everyone's religion. But when you try to use your religion to dictate what I do in my after hours activities or even in the workplace, then that's where you and I have big problems. And these Utah-based companies have a big cultural problem. Here's why. They're like cockroaches in wide open spaces. We can all see them crawling around like the dirty insects they are, but nobody seems to want to do anything to quell the infestation that is known as direct sales organizations, you guessed it, based out of Utah. I know. I said Utah a lot, but it's true. Most of the direct sales companies, the majority of them are based out of Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah, Orem, Utah. You can easily Google these particular companies and figure out that all of their headquarters are based in Utah. Okay? Somebody go ahead and Google how many times I said Utah as well. But the last thing I think that can be done to help quell the problem known as direct sales companies masking themselves as the saviors of sales reps. They do. Last thing I think can be done is we have to get back to the family. My life has been an interesting journey, to say the least, and as a single man and a wanderer, I mostly tend to be done by myself. Yes, I have a daughter. She's 7 years old and all that good stuff, but I didn't always have a daughter. And most importantly, being that I was a product of the foster care system, family has never really been something that I can say I always leaned and trusted on. So you have these groups, these opportunities, these companies that they frame it as like a, it's basically like a gang, in my opinion, and they claim to be your family. Some may even call themselves the Loomy Bros. But no matter whatever they want to call themselves, or what they want to call or classify you as, or classify themselves as, they're not your family, and they're rarely your friends. They're strictly for a check off of your back. And go more than 2 weeks without 1 or 2 sales. You really start to see how they really feel about you. You can be a superstar today in their minds and a bum tomorrow. These Utah-based direct sale companies have the same style culture. They show you the shiny lights, bring you into their world, and F you over. There's no other way I can say it. So please, if you feel like you've been taken advantage of by your company that you presently work for, and you feel nervous, afraid, you feel like you can't pay your bills, you feel like you're going to lose your housing that they provided you, quote unquote, that you are actually coming out of your commission checks, which is one of the silliest things ever, by the way. Anyway, if you feel like you're being taken advantage of, being misclassified, please do call the IRS. Call your local labor department. No one else should have to suffer with the threat of being fired or whatever else it is, and they're not even an employee to begin with. Now, guys, here's my last segment. California, in my opinion, with the issues that was going on with Uber, is leading the charge in regards to an employee direct sales misclassification. I believe that California is on the front lines in terms of making sure, or at least, getting employees' rights to right way, whether you want to call them an independent contractor, a person that contracts or not, but getting their rights pushed to the forefront in regards to their classifications with those that write the checks. Speaking of writing checks, let's not get it twisted with these Utah-based companies. They are nothing. I repeat, they're nothing without you, the underground sales rep, okay? They may try to treat you like you're at the bottom of the barrel, but 2020 hindsight, they're nothing without you guys. Their investment in you is minimal at best, and many of them don't even have any local offices. Some consider that their local office to basically be at a manager's house. And they hold out their meetings, their hour-long meetings, all trainings, nothing, just wasting your way at your time, holding you hostage and not paying you a dime for your time, which is your most important asset, and fining you for quote-unquote showing up late for works, fining you for quote-unquote not showing up for a meeting, or fining you for quote-unquote not working that day. Wait a minute. How in the world could you give me a fine? I'm supposed to be an independent contractor of your company, but you fine me for not deciding to work that day? What in the hell is wrong with that, guys? Like I said, it's so much. It is so much. And the basic thing is, in conclusion to this segment, if you're a commission-only route, for the most part, you're writing your own checks. They don't do any marketing for you. You're the marketing arm of the company. They're not giving you any leads. You create those leads. They're not getting you any sales. You go out and get those sales. You have all the power. But the manager likes to put their foot on your neck to make you feel like you're powerless. Now, mind you, it's not just him or her that's in that manager's position. It's someone else to put their foot on his or her neck too. The ladder goes all the way up to the CEOs, founders of these particular Utah-based organizations. These Utah-based companies allegedly are some of the worst companies that you can ever imaginably work for. They lie to you, they steal from you, and they will leave you homeless on the dime. And because of the fact that this is a special edition of 5 Minutes with Mike, I'm going to go over some specific receipts that I have with management at a couple of companies that I specifically work for. And I'm going to go into details with these text exchanges and my grievances with these individuals. Having an employee on commission only and drastically controlling their schedules is cognitive to indentured servitude. So, yes, this is my most recent tyrant, Mr. Matt Fowler, whom currently works at Fluent, for which I am resigning from. Well, already had intentions on resigning either way it goes. Was already talking to a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago in regards to leaving Fluent, because I just think that the math is not mathing as far as how they pay the reps is concerned there, and how much money the closers get paid. So doing solar sales, a lot of times you have a guy that's the person that sits up, that goes up, knocks on the doors, sets the appointment, and then you have a guy that actually closes the deal, and or gal, whoever. So anyway, at the end of the day, I'm leaving the company because, like I said, I could have doubled or tripled the amount of money at another company doing the same position. But the carrot that they try to throw or dangle in front of you is, oh yeah, you're going to make $20 an hour, blah, blah, blah. But you're playing what I call the pitch game. Most of the times, a lot of the appointments that you put in gets canceled, and your commissions, which means the extra additional money that you're actually signing up for, those commissions go away. Matter of fact, you don't even get those commissions, because at the end of the day, those individuals did not sit down to get their consultation in regards to going solar. Now, there's another great area about this whole business with Fluent specifically, and others that maybe like it, when it comes down to the appointment setting and them paying you by the hour, but to walk around, talk to people, whatever. The great area is this: the closer can put down anything when they get there, even if that person is qualified, or if the closer feels like they didn't have enough time to talk to that person and they wasn't going to get a deal, they'll put that person as not pitched. Whereas now, my pay is based upon a sliding scale. So I'm not going to get that particular part of my money. And because of the fact that this particular closer is up to their discretion, which I think that's a problem. So anyway, fast forwarding, Here you can review this particular message from Matt. He's actually the newest boss in the Houston, Texas office. And when it comes down to the fronters or appointment setters, my position. And starting off, I'm not going to read everything in each specific text, but I want to show these texts to give context of how these particular companies not only try to control your life, pimp you, and leave you dry, essentially. And this guy thinks he has power. He's actually the person that's on the cover of the thumbnail with the little clown thing around his nose, because he's my most recent latest tyrant. If I can give all of them in here, well, not all of them, but if I get most of them here in these text messages, a little thing, I would have. But he's my most recent one. But the thing is that stuck out to me is they want you to be a part of these mandatory meetings, okay? Mandatory meetings. If anyone knows already by now, as I've already mentioned, I am an independent contractor. What WTF mandatory meetings? What are you talking about, dude? I dealt with the same thing with his former, his predecessor that was before him. And I'm going to get into those particular texts as far as his particular reaction. But as you can see on these particular text messages, I'm going to just read one of them. Here's what he says. What's up, Michael? This is Matt. Missed you at the mandatory meeting. Keyword mandatory. Second one you missed. What's up? Yeah, I did miss that second one. Because guess what? I'm not driving 45 minutes, hour and a half across town to go and then meeting for another hour and a half to your particular kumbaya session that you could have done over the Zoom calls that we have already throughout the week. So no, I'm not doing your damn mandatory meetings, dude. Or at least what you want to call mandatory. And so I wrote him back, why would I, as an independent contractor, need to be at a mandatory meeting? I'm not an employee of your company, sir. Are you planning on paying me to show up to these hour-long meetings, Matt? It's a good question. I'm not an employee. You got these mandatory meetings. If I start looking at my time, 1 hour per week, that's 4 hours just for the meeting time. It's actually, most meetings go over by 30 minutes. So 1.5 hours times 4, that's what, 6 hours just of my time. Now, if I'm with this company, I was making $20 an hour, right? That's time that I can be on the field, not even counting the travel time to get to these meetings. But if I'm making $20 an hour, that's 6 hours that I lose. 6 times 20, if he paid me, had to pay me $120 to show up to his stupid behind meetings. They don't want to do that because now I have to multiply that 120 times 10, 11 guys that actually work there. They don't want to do it. They won't do it. But it's time for these laws to rein in people like Matt, and well, it's not his company, so he doesn't own the company, but individual companies like this, these Utah-based companies, so they cannot continue to take advantage of everyday citizens that do not know any better. They prey on people that have done a regular 9 to 5, and these 9 to 5 people think that just the way it is. Okay? Now, enough said in reference to Matt. You can read the whole text if you haven't already read that particular this particular text format on that page. And then I told him that I've had 5 of my solar system sold within the past 2.5 months. According to him, that's not a big deal. Well, that is a pretty big deal because at the end of the day, if I were to sell those deals with another company, that would have been about anywhere between $10,000 to north of $12,000, depending on how many kilowatt hours and stuff like that. So, but instead, over the last 2.5 months of working with this company, I made a whopping $4,500, $4,700, something like that, I'll round it up, close about $5,000. So you do the math, right? And so you got me out here on the front lines, and I'm making little to nothing, barely, getting by, because at the end of the day, you put in appointments, person cancels appointments, and that's how we make our money, off of the appointments. They don't pay us any vested interest off of the actual sale itself, which is an atrocity, which is why I knew in my mind and my heart that I couldn't stay at this company anyway. So whatever Matt thought that he was doing in regards to saying going into this next text, as far as, oh, well, if you don't do this, then you're going to have I'm just going to be your resignation. I'm going to fire you because of disrespect. Blah, blah. Bruh, are you that dumb? I don't give I can't even say it. I don't care about you making veiled threats about firing me, especially with the fact that I'm self-employed. How can you fire a self-employed person? Yes, you can say, hey, I can discontinue your services, but you can't fire me. You can't fire me. What power do you think that you have? Unless you have the power of me being an employee of your company. Wait a minute. I'm not an employee of your company, Matt. So anyway, it's idiots like this guy that needs to understand and learn management, which I think this might be his first time in management. But like I said again, it's not his company. More than likely, it's a cultural thing. This is what they do. This is how they prey on those individuals that don't know any better. Those young kids, 18, 19, out of high school, 20, 21, out of college. Say, hey, yes, a boss. Yes, a boss. I'll do a boss. No, a boss. Yes, a boss. Got a boss. At the end of the day, while at the same time, when you're independent contractor, you have no type of benefits that a normal employee would get, such as Medicare, healthcare, paid time off, paid sick leave, 401k benefits. None of these things as an independent contractor. So why would you let a company treat you as an employee when you not get the same benefits as an employee? Right? It's like a guy that says, hey, I got this girl on the side. She my side chick. But my main chick, I'll make sure she got this, got that, whatever. So essentially, these companies are wanting you to do things that a dude would do for the main chick while treating you like a side chick. It don't make any sense. And where I'm from, that's called a pimp. Anyway, now let's get to this next tyrant, okay? This next tyrant, his name is Chance. I don't know where he lives. I don't care where he lives anymore, but I worked with him over in Jacksonville. I don't even know if he still continues to work for the Jacksonville Safe Home office, but he was a safe home manager. And, I just think another thing, these people just get labels of managers most time because they got oogles and noodles of sales or whatever, but they have no management or form of experience with managing and or really truly leading guys when it comes down to leading people to victory. And so at the end of the day, you got a guy like Chance that gets a management position and a position of authority and does not quite understand how to manage people properly. And so you get these text messages right here, as you see on this particular screen. Now, the thing about Chance at the end of the day is that he never should have been a manager. Like, he does not have the management skills. And it's the same reason why a lot of times you have football players that don't end up being coaches, or basketball players in the same thing, because it's more than just a game. It's more than just a skill set. It's a management level of saying, hey, here's X, Y, Z because of X, Y, Z. And that was not the case. So you have a guy like Chance that during one of my lowest times in my life last year in Jacksonville, Florida, around this time of year, April or June, I think it was April. But anyway, the main point of it was last year, it was the first time in my life I got robbed at 37 years old. First time, 36, I'm sorry, before I was 37. I was robbed. Never in my life. I've lived everywhere. I was born and raised in Miami. I lived everywhere. I've been everywhere, worked everywhere, in the most dangerous neighborhoods, all of that, don't matter. But here, this particular thing happened, met this person, linked up with this individual, and this person set me up. They robbed me, 3 of them. I got jumped, ended up with a concussion. It was bad. In the hospital. Like, it's a very traumatic experience, and I'm still honestly dealing with suffering PTSD from that situation. And so you would think that a human being would understand when a person is going through X, Y, Z, what they're going through. Nope, not this guy. Not this guy. He goes and tries to use the reverse. And here's some of his text messages you can see on the screen. Come on, man. We've helped a lot. And you're trying to guilt trip me. That's not a cool move, man. Come up with a plan on how you're going to slap a big week or something. And we can look at it again. But you got rent coming up soon, too, man. We got to go grind, bro. I've been beat up before. Blah, 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 blah. Like, at the end of the day, this dude curses me out, tells me I ain't nothing, even tells me that I lied about my status as far as being beat up and hurt because after this point of these text messages, I end up meeting with him to get back and started to work. And luckily, by the grace of God, within about a 2 weeks time frame that I was really not working, I healed pretty tremendously. I had a bruised up lip. Like I said, I had concussion, all these particular things, was throwing up, all it, like just feeling really bad. And because he said he's seen me when he saw me that day and I was like almost a 360, he assumed that nothing happened to me, that I was all better. And because he said from his medical experience from being in the military, that's what gave him the conclusion. What? Dude, yeah, I was a lot better than I was the last time I texted you, but I'm still going through the healing process of it all. And the mental part of it all was one of the biggest things, along with, of course, the physical. And so here you have this guy, just an obnoxious individual, making, bogus text statements, calling me the P word, using all kind of vulgar language, whatever. And of course, I clap back at him. But at the end of the day, there is no professionalism that came from this particular dude that was called a manager, because at the end of the day, all he cared about was his bottom freaking line. And that was, can I get this guy out there to put him in a car, to get out there, put him on the street and work his ass off for me on a commission only basis. And that's the only value that he brings to me. No different than an indentured servant. Okay. Now we're going to get very quickly through Kip. I tried out this company called Lumio. Actually, just a couple of days. I went out. I don't currently have a vehicle. This is another issue why I'm not into big on meetings. So I do catch the public transportation currently. And this particular place that they wanted me to meet up with them was all over. That's very far out. I had to take 3 buses, which is about 2 hours, and then have somebody pick me up from the bus station, which was another 30 minutes. So that's 2.5 hours just going out driving before I even got in the field. Matter of fact, that day I spent more time driving than I did actually in the field working. Now, I wasn't officially signed up with this company. I did some paperwork, blah, blah, blah. But I went out to kind of test the waters, whatever. And the next day, I told Kip, hey, I'll probably work with you guys. You see my text. Good morning. Won't be going out with you all today. Maybe tomorrow. The driving yesterday was a bit much. I feel like I did more driving than actually knocking doors. Probably be going out with you guys just a few days a week, and or prefer to more so be on a blitz team whenever you guys do those blitzes. And call you back in 5 minutes. So the thing with Kip was, he said, so I got on the phone with him. Didn't have all the text messages, but he said that that's not how we operate here. You're going to work on a time that I choose for you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, no. And of course, I sent him this information as far as the statutory non-employee. And he's this older white dude with a beer belly, and basically says that I'm in charge. I've been doing this for over 25 years, and what my word says, it goes. Once again, red flags. I said, okay, deuces. I'm good. I canceled whatever my agreements was or moving forward with them. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not working for you. I'm working on my own time, on my own schedule, dude. You ain't paying me anything. That's a red flag. I'm done with it. And so that's the big thing, guys. You got to know what the red flags are. And quickly, when the company says that they're not paying you by the hour and you're independent contractor, you're commission only rep, when they say that you're going to work on my time, my schedule, where I tell you to meet at, when I tell you to meet at, either one or two things need to happen. Either number one is say, hey, well, can you change my agreement from being an independent contractor to an employee? Pay me by the hour with paid sick leave, blah, blah, blah. Or if they say, oh, no, that's not how we do things here. Say, great. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed day. Because at the end of the day, it's a red freaking flag. Because they want to control your life. They want to put you in a van, team you up, throw you in the back of a car, and have you going out 8, 10, 12 hours a day if they can, for the most part, working and slaving for them. And they can give a damn about you and your personal responsibilities and your personal life. Okay? Like I said, these companies are viciously preying on people that don't have family, that may be in a tight situation, and they try to give you and throw in a little bit of housing or whatever they can, and that you got to pay back too, by the way. So it ain't like they're just doing the generous and being just a Salvation Army soldier for you. They're doing whatever they can, quote unquote, to keep you and to lock you in. It's no different than being an indentured servant. Remember, I repeat that. It's no different than being an indentured servant. Now, here's a quick message from between me and Garrett, who's one of the VPs of sales at Safe Home. Basically, he had sent me a text message. I was done. I'm still living in Jacksonville, Florida at the time, but I was done with working with Garrett. Working with Chance and his mess, his buffoonery, his tyranny, whatever the case may be. So this is just a quick message that was between him and I. I'm not gonna actually go through that message. And from here, there's some text messages between me and Matt. So Matt was like the junior of Chance at Safe Home, okay? Safe Home Jacksonville office. And me and Matt had butt heads like nobody business, because Matt was also had that military background. He's, yes sir, no sir type of deal. And like from almost the first or second day, him and I butt heads. And it's hard when you, like myself, know what's better and know what's true, to deal with an individual that, is not reasonable, or to try to bully you into working for them or working with them or whatever the case may be. So me and Matt had some run-ins with each other in regards to some things. You can see the text messages here. This is in relation to specifically some things when it comes down to the housing situation. This is around the time that I was dealing with, the situation where I was robbed and I didn't have any money. I was broke, this, that, and the third. And I had to beg them for an advance on the monies for which I had actually earned. It just hadn't gotten paid out. And I was in a hotel that, that was coming out of my commission from them. And I ended up paying it, whatever the case may be. But the main point of it was there was a couple of jobs that hadn't gotten installed yet, haven't gotten installed yet, or were installed. I don't remember it all. But the main point of it all was I was at a moment where I surely could have been homeless. Now, I do thank Matt for coming in and helping out in that situation, but it took me 24 hours or so to get any kind of response from these individuals that say that they care about you, knowing that I was in a situation that I was in. It hurts, So on one hand, like I said, me and Matt, we bumped heads quite a bit, but at the end of our relationship, I would say that we kind of made amends on some things. But there are definitely some things that he does need to correct as an individual. Some things I need to correct as an individual. I'm not always the best person to be around, quote unquote, but I'm not walking around with the manager hat or the team leader hat. I'm just being me. And as a grown ass man, I understand perspective, and I understand that no company is not just going to try to take advantage of me. Not at this stage of my life, which is why they go after the young 18, young, dumb, and full of, and 18, 19-year-olds that don't know any better, And so, like I said, me and Matt's relationship, we kind of mended some things, and that's as far as I can say that it's been since that time. I haven't talked to him since. All right. down to Colin. So Colin also he's the former Fluent Texas boss, um, former Fluent Texas boss, and Colin is best thing I could say is he seemed okay. I think he seemed pretty cool. But like all these managers that, do what they do, the little manager thing, he tried to pull his little manager card and it didn't really work with me, in some aspects. And, sometimes though, life has its way of showing, a cycle of things, and at the end of the day, as you can see here, he's talking about me being a part of Zoom calls. They're not negotiable, all this and that. Even on my day off, like who the hell goes to work on a day off? That's essentially what he wanted me to do every day. The Zoom calls, to go to work on my day off. Like where they do that at? And so he tried to, self-explain himself as far as why he went to work on his days off. Blah, 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 blah. The point of the matter is, dude, you got fired. He got fired too from the company, from his position, or whatever you want to call it. Because I think managers obviously are paid differently. They're paid off of everything what the team does. Everybody on their team, I should say, because they're the only ones that get paid, and a team leader. But at the end of the day, I think he seemed okay, to a certain degree, but once again, there were definitely obviously some disagreements that we had, even to a point where I believe he tried to set me up on something when it came down to a particular customer lead, and he wanted me to as you can see, I'm saying call her, and she said no one came out. So I'm asking you to send me the call log where she called you, or she called you to tell you that no one showed. And I said no. So this was a text message all the way in the third right-hand column. I'm not going to give up my call log in reference to this particular, just for you, about to try to get an approval for a lead. So I think he was trying to set me up. I think he was trying to do a gotcha moment or something like that. But yeah, I called the lady and all that stuff. But the thing is with people, you give them an inch, they'll try to take a mile on you. And that was the reason I said I'd rather take an L by not getting that shown as a pitched missed appointment, because we do get credit if it's missed. I'd rather take the L on that versus giving him the rights to my call log. Okay, he's not a detective. The hell. Anyway, so here's the last one. This guy, who calls himself Mo, I don't really know what his name is. I just know that he's a Muslim brother that I think wants to be white. I don't know. I think he definitely acts like he's one of these white tyrannical managers, and I believe he's also from Utah. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know I met this young man, this individual, I met him out of in San Antonio when they flew me out. Garrett flew me out from Jacksonville to San Antonio to work in San Antonio, and this Mo is the individual that was the manager there. And this guy, once again, they always show you they always kind of show you they part of them, they always show you the nice side of them at first, of course. Hey, what's up, man? Well, how you doing, man? Anything, and we were all staying like an Airbnb at the time. So once again, they get you on that housing thing I was telling you about. So I went out there, to work, try to get myself back on my feet, because after the Jacksonville incident had happened with being robbed. It was life-changing for me. It was hard, and I honestly just wanted to get out of the city. So that was perfect for me to get out. Now, of course, I owed the VP for those plane tickets. Had to pay the plane tickets. Now, you're an independent contractor all the way to the point of, them saying that they want to make sure you work on their time and their schedule. But everything else, oh no, that comes out of your pay. That comes out of your pay. That comes out of your pay. So, the situation with Mo, and this is my last text to dive into, so I saved the very best for last. And I'm going to read all of it. So he says, no, well, here's this is what I say. First and foremost, I thought that what you did was an F-boy move. I, as a human being, have a right to be angry. When I received the text from Tanner, I was more than livid because my belief system was that you gave me a referral to do deals with SAPS, which is another security company over in San Antonio. Not that you would be a quote unquote manager and take my money without consulting with me on a deal I do with SAPS. It's almost like saying, oh, yo, Mike, if you can't get a deal here, I recommend you do your deals with ADT because you can get some deals to pass. But by the way, if you owe me some money, I'm going to call ADT and have them send the money to me first before they pay you. And that's essentially what that felt like to me. What my business is with you is with Safe Home. So I thought that was disrespectful. You spoke to me yesterday. We sat down and had lunch. You could have at least told me that. Now I would apologize to you because it was out of pocket on my behalf, but it was my human right to get upset and angry if I feel violated in a particular way. And here's what he responds back to me. You're acting like I took money that wasn't mine. You're acting like you don't borrow a F ton of money from people and only sell 1 or 2 a week. You're an effing idiot. I'm done working with you. Good luck, you effing deadbeat dad piece of ish 40-year-old loser. 40-year-old bum that needs a 25-year-old to pay for his housing and all the rest of it. Man, you're an absolute loser, dog. I don't need this. If you're going to blow up like this over me taking money that I lent you, then you have real problems and don't understand how the world works. Now, let me put this all into context of what I said and the crap that he particularly said, which was atrocious. And honestly, I wish the best over his life and that, God gives him strength because the Bible says, forgive us, Father, for they know not what they do. So, with that being stated, what the context of this is what happened. So they're working for Safe Home was one thing, which the Utah-based company. And he gave me a referral, say, hey, there's a company I work with. If you can't get this particular sale over at Safe Home, then, you can slide it over here over at SAPS, which is a San Antonio-based company. I have nothing bad to say about them. I only did 1 or 2 deals with them, whatever. Main point of it, he had told me that. I was like, okay, cool. So I had a particular deal that wouldn't have been a good deal for Safe Home. So I sent it over to SAPS. Well, Lord behold, that deal gets closed. It gets installed. I was expecting to make about $650, something like that. I get to pay from the dude who's the SAPS the SAPS contractor. It was $350. I was like, wait a minute, that's a whole $300 something that I'm supposed to have. I got to pay for this hotel. I got to pay for this thing I got going on, whatever. And I called, the dude from SAPS. I was like, yo, what? I did the math. I was supposed to get paid this. He was like, oh, yeah, well, Mo should have told you that he said that you owed some money for housing or something over at Safe Home. So he took that. I sent him that money on the behalf of the money that you owed him. I said, but where in God's great earth did I sign a contract with you that now allows you to take my money from me to now dispense that money over to him? Are you the bank? Are you a loan or originator? Essentially, and I got it. I didn't get too, heated with him because I understood he was just a middleman and he was trying to, he didn't really, what I'm saying? He had a relationship already with Mo, and now here I am, the new guy, sales rep. So he wanted to, make sure his relationship with Mo didn't turn into something ugly or whatever. But at the same time, he had no right to take my money and give that to Mo because Mo was not officially my manager at SAPS or anything else for that matter. I didn't sign a contract with Mo at SAPS. My contract with Mo was done at Safe Home. It's no difference as if you owe Bank of America some money and now Wells Fargo is trying to take that money out of your account. Exactly. It doesn't make sense. So essentially, that's what happened here. So Mo went on his little tangent about me and my personal responsibilities. Not 40 years old yet, but I'm knocking on his door. But at the end of the day, it just shows you they try to control you. in any way possible, and any loophole that they can find, they'll expose and exhaust that particular loophole. This is the biggest reason I did this special edition on Utah-based companies. Now, I'm not saying all Utah-based direct sales companies are just like this. No. But what I'm saying that this is proof that these managers don't give a damn about you, that these managers and the culture of these companies has to change and shift. Because if you continue to treat a workforce like you do, I hope and pray the U.S. government can change the laws by any means necessary to the way that they are handling business. Because unfortunately, the U.S. tax code, it doesn't seem to be enough for these companies to circumvent and still get away with treating contractors or really employees like this. Because anytime you can control someone's behaviors and the outcome of a project, then their person is basically your employee. And so this, guys, is the end of all of these texts. My hope for these texts, my hope for showing these texts, my hope for revealing this stuff, this information, is that another generation of individuals won't have to go through the same stuff that I dealt with these tyrannical individuals that work for these companies and or the culture for which harbors this particular type of business practices. Now, let's get into some black facts. Indentured servitude is a form of labor in which a person is contracted to work without salary for a specific number of years. The contract, called an indenture, may be entered voluntarily, quote unquote, for purported eventual compensation or debt repayment, or it may be imposed as a judicial punishment. Historically, it has been used to pay for apprenticeships, typically when an apprentice agreed to work for free for a master tradesman to learn a trade, similar to a modern internship, but for a fixed length of time, usually 7 years or less. Later, it was also used as a way for a person to pay the cost of transportation to colonies in the Americas. Like any loan, an indenture could be sold. Most employers had to depend on middlemen to recruit and transport the workers, so indentured workers were commonly bought and sold when they arrived at their destinations. Like prices of slaves, their price went up or down depending on supply and demand. When the indentured loan was paid off, the worker was free. Sometimes they might be given a plot of land. Sometimes. Indentured workers could usually marry, move about locally as long as the work got done, read whatever they wanted, and take classes, yada, yada, yada. Point of the matter is, in this segment of Black Facts, if you think about labor and the way that particular companies, based in that state I've been talking about the whole time, treat its employees, it's not too far off from being an indentured servant. And this was a moment in Black Facts. Now, let's take them to church. Hallelujah. It's time out for big time Utah-based corporations, or any corporations for that matter, no matter where they're located. It's time out for them to continue to take advantage of the poor and less than in terms of job placement, job skills, and advancement. Time out from them preying on blacks and minorities to fulfill their contracts and bottom line. Dear Lord God, I pray that if anyone is currently working for a company, wherever it may be, that is doing them unjustly and they feel like there is no way out, I pray that they are able to get them out of that bondage, out of that fear. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. And one of the best ways to help support this channel is by purchasing our newly minted merch. Introducing the Michael Beckford collection, a new collection of socially conscious apparel. Get your tees, hoodies, caps, and more. Link is in the description below. And if you've gotten this far in this video, please do yourself a favor. Please like and subscribe. Hit that like and subscribe button. Click the notification bell. Most of my videos is usually not this long, but this is a special edition of 5 Minutes of Mike, so I definitely appreciate you watching and listening. 5 Minutes of Mike is written, produced, and directed by Michael D. Beckford, all rights reserved. Copyright 2023 by Speak Publishing International and the Michael Beckford Media Group, LLC production. Once again, thank you for listening and watching.